So we're delighted tonight to have on Ingrid Nachstern. It's brilliant to have you on and learning more about you and what you're doing, what you've been up to. You've been quite a busy person. We'll start from the very beginning. How did you get started in the arts?
I went to ballet lessons at age 3. My mum sent me along because I was an only child and she thought it would be good, to meet people. I hated it. I did it up to the age of 17. I only enjoyed when I was 16, I had a different teacher. When I was 10, I plucked up the courage to say to my mum, I don't want to do this anymore. And she said, well, you are, dear. So that was the end of that. But actually, I'm so grateful now. So I went to ballet classes and then I was fascinated by languages. I went to Trinity. I studied languages there. Then not accidentally, I went back to kind of evening classes and then thought, I'd like to open a ballet school. So I did the whole thing in reverse. Like I didn't have a performing career. I just thought, I'd like to open a ballet school. So I did the RAD, the Royal Academy of Dance training, and then opened my school. In the middle of that, I was doing kind of adult evening classes. And one day I was looking for music, for their class. I came across a bit of Gounod's waltz music. I went into this trance. I started choreographing a piece, which I thought was absolute masterpiece. Like it was awful. And I got a bunch of college students to do the piece. That's how I kind of got into it. It wasn't, I'm going to be a choreographer. And it took me ages to kind of, I'm a choreographer. And Annika Lowe down in Longford, she was so good. I think, did I send her the piece? I think I did, thinking it was a masterpiece, but she said something like, you have a very good eye. And I remember in those days there was no email. She sent me a letter. I was shaking, opening it. So those kind of things like just make, such a difference. Like if she'd said, well, I don't know, I would have gone under my duvet and thought, God, I'm crap, I can't go on. But anyway, it just kind of evolved from that. So like I had small kids at the time. Monday morning was the time I would do a bit of choreography. So I kind of trundled on with that this would have been like before the Chisholms or something. Getting dance pieces on here, if you weren't in the fully funded company, it was like a bit of a nightmare. So I kind of persevered with that. One of the highlights was 2009 when Laurie, she was Dublin Dance Festival director. She's now actually in Ferton Crane. She was so good. She liked my piece. It was called Watch ... It was about the pressures 21st century men were under. So I went out for a coffee with Laurie and she said, go to Movement Research in New York. I've seen articles. It's like an open mic for dance and you can apply. I religiously followed it all. 9 a.m. in the States is 2 p.m. here. So I got a slot there in, I think, 2011. But just before that, I'd given up my evening class because I had this mad idea that I just wanted to explore. I was in dance house, I think, for the week, but I was still teaching. And this guy, he was very terrifying. He was saying things like, not to me, but to everybody, you're not doing what I ask, and blah, blah, blah. I persevered with all that. And I learned the routines. I couldn't stay on a Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon because I was teaching. So I came back on the Friday when they were doing the piece. And I remember sitting there, I'd actually forgotten about this, thinking I'm just enraged. Because I thought, God, I could have been doing that. And up until that point, I'd never performed. I know I said about thing in New York, but this was before that. And also I had to throw in, I was down in Wexford. This must have been, I don't know, a year or two before that. And I went to Deirdre Grant. She did a kind of workshop-y week. And again, we got up and did something. And I thought, God, this is great. It was those kind of things that made me think I wouldn't mind performing. So I went to New York. Actually, Michael Seaver, who said it to me here before I went, he said, would you like to do it in Dublin? I said, you must be joking. I said, no, I'd far prefer to fail in New York. And my husband was saying, it's a bit of a risk. I thought, well, look, it'll either work or it won't. So I went. Culture Ireland supported me, paid for the flight, and it was a part of a Culture Ireland thing across the States. And I religiously got up every morning at 7 a.m. and did my 10-minute solo thing. And I went for walks in Central Park, went to Janet Panetta, who's since died. I went to her class and made sure I didn't go to bed too early so I wouldn't be suffering from jet lag. Went to the place, 3-4 days later, about 4 hours in advance. And people always say, oh God, mad. But yes, but you fly across the States and you go to all that bother, and then you're in Midtown Manhattan and you miss the bloody thing because you're late. So I did that, and it was really good because the piece, it was about marriage, motherhood, and called Who Am I? They had 4 people, and at the end you got 15 minutes of feedback from the audience. And it was the first time I felt that I'd been taken absolutely seriously. I remember that night I was staying in the DoubleTree in Lexington Avenue. I went there on my own, had like 2 vodkas and tonics, ordered the meal, and I thought, yes, I did it. I felt validated, and I was doing it all in reverse. You know, I'd already ran the ballet school when I hadn't had a performing career. We got through it and the kids enjoyed it. Yeah, so it kind of trundled along with it. Oh no, and another thing, I went to Barcelona. It's still there, actually, the Barcelona International Dance Exchange. I went there, I think 2013 or 2014. I went to Barcelona. And again, I had all these people taking me seriously. And about 3 people came up to me and said, oh, I'd love to work with you and blah, blah, blah. Like nothing came of it, but it was grand for the time. I think it started on a Wednesday at 4:00. About 50 people from all around the place, all around Europe came. And at 8:00 on the Friday, you'd have a public performance. And the first time when I arrived, I thought, gee, like, that's not possible. Like, it's not possible, but it was. Like, it was really weird, but it was. Sebastian Garcia, who still runs it, was so kind. Instead of saying like I'm the oldest person, but the most experienced, like I wasn't, but but just to get those chances, not dissing Ireland and all the rest of it, but in certain ways it doesn't work, like artistically. So then in 2014, we kind of accidentally fell into film. So there was no grand plan. In 2014, I had a triple bill on my New York solo and 2 other pieces, Table Manners, Stopping at Red Lights, and Freedom to Go. So they were theatre pieces. We got them on in project, let's say halfway through the year. And then that Christmas, my stage manager, Mike Scorscan, she said to me, these pieces should be made into films. So in the January, I kind of followed that up. I didn't really know of what I was doing. I remember Michael Cooney, he's a very good friend now, but he's been in all my films. So we spent the day filming, and we had torrential rain for most of it. And then obviously it had to be finished in the evening. So it was all like a very quick learning curve. I just wasn't quite sure what I was doing. But that was Table Manners. And it was just a few months later, I found out by accident that we'd won an award in Las Vegas. Like, I wasn't used to any of these things. And this was like, oh my God. I mean, yes, it was the award, great. But it was just a thing that people took you seriously. They didn't know who I was. I shouldn't be saying all this, but I'm saying it anyway. There wasn't all the cliquey. They didn't know who I was. I was an older woman. There wasn't even the anti-woman thing. Now there are more women, but when I was going out in the early days, it was mainly men in their 30s. So it changed the Table Manners then into a film. Then Freedom to Go, which was about immigration, celebrity culture, child beauty pageants, pornography. We did that in the south of Italy. I had this idea, we'd do it in a quarry. We did it in Matera, which is like a heritage centre place. We went there for the light, the sun, and half a day in torrential rain. Like, I couldn't believe it, that we have to clamber up the side of the thing. We only then had the Sunday. I should have been panicking, but I wasn't. I thought, well, we'll just do it tomorrow. It was dry the following day, and we had to do about 20 scenes. And then I got food poisoning then in the middle of the night. And then into the Monday, we had to redo some of the recordings. We had to leave on the Monday afternoon. And then actually I was flying to New York about 2 days later, and I collapsed on the plane. Anyway, so that was that. So we turned that one into a film. My third film, Shoehorn Office, it went straight into a film. It wasn't a theatre piece first. So by then I'd kind of learned a few things along the way, because I don't have any film training. Then that kind of took off, and I think during COVID, because prior to COVID, the film had a shelf life of 2 years. And then if it was older than 2 years, they didn't want to know. But during COVID, they did. I sent it off all around the place, and we just had a very good run in LA and here in Canada and all around the place. Someone used to say every time I won an award, I bought a hat. And they were saying that the hat was the performance because you couldn't go anywhere and you couldn't really do anything. And it was all in your sitting room. And I thought, well, heck it, I may as well just send it out there. And I couldn't because I wasn't working on it. My last film, which I only finished like a few weeks ago, I was working on that for about 5 years. During, obviously, COVID, I have to take the COVID years out because I couldn't work during COVID. And I was beating myself up. I would think, oh, you know, you ought to be able to do it. You ought to be able to do it. But I've always had to have something else. I had the ballet school, and then I was doing the choreography on the side. I don't want all day and I don't need all day to do it. My thing now is that when I can't work, I do 5 minutes a day, Monday to Friday. And people's like, oh God, like you need hours. Like, no, you don't. You start and do 5 minutes, and the 5 minutes will probably evolve into 15 minutes or maybe 20 or maybe 25 or maybe a bit more. But if you start thinking, oh God, you know, I have to do 4 hours, I can't do that. So then, yeah, we did the last Pins in Our Eyes, the last film. I mean, I'm not used to saying it because we only finished it about 4 weeks ago. I have then a new cinematographer, Keith Driscoll. We did about 3 scenes in Dance Works in London. It's a kind of anti-cosmetic surgery film and the pressure that young women are under to be absolutely perfect before they get outside the front door. And also I deal with physiotomy, which was a practice that was prevalent here in 1940s and 1980s, where they kind of broke the pelvis to widen the birth canal. This was done on women without their consent. They ended up in agony. So we did about 3 or 4 scenes. Was it 2022? April 2020. And then I had to save for the rest of it. The other 16 scenes kind of had to be done here because I had 3 nuns, and I thought I have to have Irish people because only Irish people will pick up on that Irish Catholicism. I have other people. My mad American cosmetic surgeon. So I do it in accents. It's done in rhyming verse. All the films. I did languages, and I used to be a translator. So I like just messing around with the languages.
Do you use languages as part of your creative process? Is it more something that kind of forms later on?
No, I think it comes, I'm just trying to think of table manners. I think I had some German words in there. That doesn't mean anything, just means where's the baggage. And I just fancied it. So I threw it in. Back in the day, I was thinking, oh no, I can't use that because it doesn't make sense. But I do screen dance films. I do experimental films. Obviously, I have a dance background. For me, it's primarily what I can't say through dance, I then do through text. It's funny, I just trying to remember her name, Claudia Diaz. She's a Portuguese kind of dance person. I did a workshop with her a good few years ago. My God, it was like so challenging. She then got this idea to put all these titles for a choreographic piece in a teapot. Mine was pollution is bad for the environment. I said, like, God, how am I going to dance this? She said, oh, in the corner there is a microphone. I remember thinking, I'm not using the microphone. I didn't know what to do. And then the next minute I found myself drawn to the microphone. And it was great. Up to then it would just been pure dance pieces. So probably Table Manners was the first one where, it's done in rhyming verse. She introduced, because her having the microphone, it was great. It was such a power standing there and chatting away. And I don't know what I said, but that was so useful.
Do you like performing in your pieces, or do you prefer to stay on the sides?
Yeah, I generally just give myself a little, it's like Hitchcock. Not that I'm comparing myself to Hitchcock, but he always has a little cameo role. So I'm in Table Manners at the table, and in Freedom to Go, I'm talking about Martin Luther King. In Shoehorn, I'm like an office worker with Millie, Daniel Dempsey, who was in it as well. This time I have a very cameo role. I'm the receptionist in the cosmetic surgery clinic. I'm only in it for like a tiny bit of time. I'm primarily in it because it saves money.
Does it have a title yet?
It's called Pins in Her Eyes, in capital letters. Pins in her eyes.
And is there a release date yet, or is this still in work?
Yeah, it doesn't really work like that because it's art house film and I'm not with Omniplex or wherever. I submit to film festivals and then they either take it or they don't take it. So that's where I am at the minute. But I'm so exhausted. I normally wouldn't work weekends. I don't work weekends. But, I would sit at my desk at 9 a.m, like every day, 5 days a week, whether I was doing 5 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever. But then after all last year with all the getting the insurance, getting all the clearance for locations, obviously the one in London and then one about 3-4 locations here. There's just so much to do, thousands of things going around your head. I mean, I got to the place where I thought, like, this has to be finished. And then once you get on the roller coaster, there's no getting off it until it's absolutely finished. But then if I don't finish it, my mental health is just going to destroy my life. And even if I win 10 million, regardless, I have to finish the film. Now, my daughter would say, well, you chose to do this. And I thought, well, not really. I'm delighted now that I have a skeleton of an idea for something. But, it'll be years away before I have to do anything, which is wonderful because I just want to free to travel and do stuff, not have all that on top of me. It nearly breaks you. Like, I imagine you're a Hollywood person, you fleet of people and you get this and you deal with this. And I took about 6 bloody weeks trying to get the insurance thing.
It's such a common thing for small production companies or even just individual people creating work that they have to do all the work there,
Everything.
wearing all the hats. Do you have any skills or any techniques that you've used over the years that you're like, oh, this works, whether it be like I dedicate this day to doing the insurance or this day to writing the story? Is there anything like that you use?
There's no, I don't have any kind of quick fix. All I do is I write lists of stuff every day. That's the only way I can do it and get all the film hire thing. And then you have the anxiety, like that awful anxiety that you've engaged. To be honest, I didn't insure, not my last film, but the 2 films before. But this time I was insured up to the hilt and it had to all take place. 3 weeks rehearsal. And then we were starting on the 17th of May. Like, anything could go wrong. And you've got real life there. But unlike editing, where it was just me and Keith taking as long as we wanted, this, it had to happen on the 17th. And then it had to happen on the 18th and had to happen on. I was kind of having nightmares about it. And then I said, no, it'll all be fine. The universe, the vibes. So all that stress, you kind of forget about that. So you're carrying that. And of course, nobody would insure you for COVID. So if somebody went down with COVID, then I was somebody short. And of course, I'm not a Hollywood film director, so I didn't have 10 people lined up. Oh, you take their place. The whole thing is a pain. It really is a pain, and it's so exhausting. And I get so frightened to have to go into that. It's like a kind of tunnel that you can't get out of. Of course, you can step aside and then not do the film, and then you have a breakdown. So you have to keep going. I'm just so delighted it's finished. So delighted it's finished. Oh, you kind of wonder at one point, is it really worth it? But then you don't really have an option where people say, maybe I'll try that. It's not a case of trying something. It's a case that you're driven to do the damn thing. That's what I think non-artistic people don't understand. And why would they? It's amazing, though. The icing on the cake, is just going around the film festivals, and they're like, that's great. You feel then you've earned that. That's the easy bit, just drinking and chatting away to people and yakking on about your piece. The rest of it is, well, I don't mind actually sitting at the desk doing the few bits day after day. It's just the stress of it, because so many things can go wrong, and things always go wrong. I'm glad it's finished. I still haven't. I'm sitting at the desk where I've been working. I haven't actually cleared the last bits of stuff. Anyway.
Do you have any advice for anyone who is doing what you're doing? You're the person doing it all. You're picking the people, you're organizing the rehearsals, the shoots, anything like that.
The only advice I can give is that, because so many things can go wrong, you're the person with the vision. So you have to hang on to your vision at all costs. Then I was thinking about getting people to help. I don't know. You see, I like to have full control of what I'm doing. But obviously when you get people, you then have to, I have to trust the tech people because I don't know anything about that. I think you've got to like just not compromise and go after, the best people for you. One of your questions was, would you like working with the same people? And I generally would have done that, except for the last film. It was only the second time working with Keith, and I worked very well with him. And Michael was in it, but everybody else, even the technical people, I never met them before. Like it really was a massive gamble, but the tech thing worked out really, really well. The atmosphere was really good. My cast, that worked out really well. I mean, obviously, I audition, post COVID, I'm doing it by casting reels or whatever. So I hadn't actually met, which again sounds really weird. But I've never really been in the situation where I think, they didn't do what I wanted, it's not my vision, blah, blah. I can't say that. Everybody did deliver what I wanted. I've beaten them over the head or whatever they got there eventually. But it's a gamble. And then there's the personality things. People just have to be on board 150%. And if that doesn't suit them, then fine. Because I'm not going to put myself through all of that to be Miss Popular or whatever. I'm there to make the film. Obviously, treat people correctly, of course. But I'm there to get the film done in the way that I need and want it done. What I mean is, people are used to working with different companies, and obviously different companies have different projects and blah, blah, blah. And everybody should be able to move between all of that. But I suppose it doesn't always happen. Anyway, I've been lucky, and I can't honestly say, that film didn't work, because I can't say that, which is great. Anyway, I've probably, as I say, put everybody off filmmaking, unless you've kind of got millions in the bank. But then again, and my husband was saying to me, but even if I could have like a production person, I'd probably be down to the top of their neck all the time. Although, to be fair to myself, all the technical people, I don't know anything about that. I had to trust Keith completely, and all the sound guys. But it was great. There was a nice atmosphere, and I had a kind of like a eye migraine thing on about the second last day of the filming. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to end up in hospital. Sat down for about 10 minutes and then went outside. It generally goes after about 10 or 15 minutes. Michael, who's in the film, he came out with me, we were walking up, and he said, don't worry, the film is going really well. So I'm not worried about the film, I'm worried about my eye. Anyway, it calmed down and it was fine. So that's the thing, you can't get sick. Nobody can get sick. You can't get sick. There can't be an earthquake. Everything just has to be. And life isn't like that. So you're constantly up against, well, what if? And you have to stop the what ifs and just trust that it'll all be fine. And then you think, well, it's only making a film. Come on. It's not brain surgery. I'm exhausted even thinking about it. Now, to be fair to, I don't know who was in the last government who brought in the basic income for the artist. That's a really, really good idea. I read some comments, people say felt they were validated by having been given this. And obviously it gives people, buys some space and time to do what they're doing, as opposed to, say, taking a job to whatever. It's still only a pilot scheme being brought in. The government are very interested in the end product, the international thing and the awards and the opening night and blah, blah. Not so interested at the grassroots when you're doing something that just mightn't work. I think even the population, like during COVID, what did people do? Like they watch films, they listen to music, they read books. So if you take all that away, what are you left with? The art, it's just not a luxury. It's an essential part of the life of a nation, and also of the individual. And I think it is a pilot scheme. I think people were getting $350 a week for 3 years, which is really good. I didn't get that. I applied anonymously, and I got on a panel where they give you do a survey and you tell them, what you had for breakfast. And when we were depressed, I let them have everything. Depressed in the last 4 weeks, yes. Anxiety in the last 4 weeks, yes. On a scale of 1 to 10, 9. So, and you're not supposed to say who you are, any identifying things. I just said, I said you wouldn't be in the job you're in if it weren't for people like me doing what we're doing. So I think the pilot scheme, if that's kind of brought in as a regular standard thing for artists, I mean, how do you identify the artist? What was it like 5,000 people who came forward for the thing? And I say it did make their lives, it didn't impact me, but it doesn't really matter because it didn't pay one dancer for 1 week, but fine. But like, you know, my kids are grown up, the house paid off. So I'm concerned for younger people like you guys or whatever. You have to pay your rent and do yours. So that's very difficult. It's very difficult. I know they're talking not just artist wise, but a universal basic income, but certainly a basic income for the artist is. And I got turned down I didn't apply this time because I thought I don't have time to apply because I want to finish the film. At the Arts Council application thing would take a year and a day. And my third film, they turned it down, and I asked for feedback. Probably not supposed to say this, but I'm saying it anyway. And they said it fails to convince. And every time we won an award, I very childishly sent in an email saying, just letting you know, we won an award in Detroit. Just letting you know we're in Los Angeles. You know, and I thought, oh, come on, Ingrid, this is stupid. So I stopped doing that. I was saying to my husband, I probably have a better chance going in for a randomized trial, you know, because otherwise I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too, you know, too the other. But anyway, to be fair, I have to finish my third survey. They want to know everything, and I tell them everything. They probably regret asking, but anyway. So yes, I think the art should be valued. It's not a luxury. It's an enhancement of people's lives. Like ballet has saved my life loads of times. Like I was in Canada and didn't have a work permit, and I used to go to the Toronto Dance Centre 5 days a week for 3 years. And I did other stuff, but that fundamentally kept me sane. I took my sabbatical in London 2016 for about 5 months. Because I remember saying, like, this is a bit mad, because I was trying to decide whether to run my back, keep running the ballet school or not. And I was saying to a friend of mine, well, I might be back after 3 days because, like, I don't know, what will I be doing? So I went to ballet class every day. It was a very hot September. I sat in a yoga mat under a tree and just had the space. It's great. So yeah, you need, and also I think ballet is very good for my nerves, kind of keeps me calm. Yeah, I just hope some festival takes my film. Anyway, I think it makes kind of good points. And the thing of making the film is so you can, like, if somebody's bored by the film, then I feel I've failed. But whether they like it or not is nothing to do with me. So I kind of make the film to make some connection with the audience so they view a particular topic, say in this case, society's assault on the female body, or in the last film, like sexism in the office or whatever, to see a particular thing and maybe slightly alter their viewpoint on it. And you have to do it. Like I remember somebody saying that if you don't capture somebody's attention within the first minute, I would say even less than that, like first 30 seconds. Like you can't have a mediocre opening and then maybe it gets good on minute 2. Nowadays the concentration is very poor. So I hope I've applied for a couple of festivals, but these things take a few months, and some festivals that I was interested in, they've now closed for this year and you've got to wait till next year. But I didn't make the mistake I made a few years ago, and I finished the film in, say, like December, what was it, say 2019. Of course I'd lost the whole year. Well, this time we only finish it in February. So it's into 2025. So I don't know if they still apply the 2-year rule. But anyway, I've shown it to a few people. I used to kind of send the link around to people. I stopped doing that because, not that you can't trust people, but somebody say, oh, do you want to see this? And then next minute it's all over the place. I've shown it to people off my computer and they say, okay. And I said, no, you can only see it off my computer. So yes, it seemed to have some kind of impact. As I say, if people are bored, then that's a failing. But whether you like it or you don't like it, that's kind of nothing to do with me. There's nothing I can do about that. It's like having a child and sending them out into the world.
That's the great thing about art. It's like open to interpretation, and so much of it can be just personal taste and personal opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, thank you so much, Ingrid, for coming on. It's been such a great chat, getting to know you and all the different things you've been doing. You have been kept busy.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Sarah and Niamh. It's very kind of you to ask me on. It was fun. Thank you.